Okay. I'd like to call this meeting of the Park and Rec Advisory Board to order. And let's see,
Right. Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone. We'd like to remind the people on the Zoom meeting that this is being broadcast and recorded on the city YouTube channel 25. Please remember to mute yourself during the meeting when you are not speaking. The chat function for the meeting is disabled. All chats will come directly to me. Unless you are participating during the meeting, please turn off your video. This allows for the active meeting participants to be seen on screen. You will still be able to hear the meeting. When you are participating, please turn your video on. If you have any trouble, you can send me the chat. The city reserves the right to mute people or turn individual videos off to minimize distractions during the meeting. I'll return it back to you, John.
Okay, so call the meeting to order and let's go through the minutes of December 12th. Do we have any concerns about the minutes? Vicki? We have a motion to approve the minutes.
This is Marilyn Hull. I move we approve the minutes of the December meeting.
Val Arneill, I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the December 11th board meeting. Any questions, issues? All in favor?
Yes,
Any opposed? Okay, I think we're okay then. Okay, so we have public comment now, and we had some written public comment.
Right, we did distribute that today. Everyone should have received it. It's online as well, so.
Okay, is anybody here to speak to?
No one in the room is anyone online wanting to speak? Please use the raise your hand feature if you're wanting to. Okay. Public comment.
Okay, so
I forget how this works. So the public comment.
It's just received.
It was, so we don't really talk about it. This
correct.
We would have to wait a month for someone to come or to put it on the agenda.
We could put it on the agenda next month. Yeah.
or we could talk about it during our comments,
Okay,
at the end.
right.
Well, a lot of times when there's public comment, sometimes staff needs time to review. So if people come before the board, we have to allow staff time to,
Right, to do the
research or whatever it is that they're asking. In this case, I think we could probably I think Lindsay's going to address some of that in her executive or the director's comments, and mainly because it deals with that whole process.
Right.
So she'll cover some of that in there. So. Okay.
Okay, so first item here is introduction of new board members. So Vicki Collie-Akers, from the health department. I'd like to welcome you, Vicki, and maybe you could say a little something about your background.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Vicki Collie-Akers. As John mentioned, I am Director of Policy and Planning at Lawrence Douglas County Public Health. I also am faculty at KU Med Center, but live here in Lawrence. My background is entirely in public health. So part of what shapes my interest here is about equitable opportunities for healthy living and good opportunities, which seems central to the Parks and Rec board. So I'm thrilled to be here.
And if we might go around the room and introduce yourselves to.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Vicki knows me. I'm
right.
John Navedian. We're on the health board together.
I'm St. Thomas.
You might tell a little bit how long you've been on the board and what brought you to the
board. Been on the board a little less than a year, not super long. Kind of here representing Lawrence Skaters Association. It's kind of my gig with the board, but yeah.
Okay,
Jackie Becker. I'm on the board. I think it's been 5 years, and I come from kickball, swimming, I do live music. I like sports. I like Parks and Rec. So
Val Arneill, I've been on the board the same amount of time, 5 years, and been really impressed with our commitment around this table to equity because I think that is a something that the city cares about too. So that seems to come up a lot.
We met Lindsay Hart, interim director.
Mark Ecker, assistant director.
Marilyn Hull, retired person. I've been on the board for 5 years. I, like Jackie, I do a lot of activities myself, and kind of have a special interest in trails.
Roger. Yeah.
Okay.
And we're Arneill, assistant director for arts and culture.
Then Andrea?
Hello, good to have you, Andrea Chavez. I think I just got renewed for a 3-year term and I filled in for somebody else's. So, but I work for Peasley Tech, and so we kind of have a partnership there with economic development, Parks and Rec, and also I do a lot of different sports through City of Lawrence too.
Thank you, Andrea.
And Betty Booth is not here tonight, so she is not able to join us.
So, the board chair, Amber Nichols has resigned, right? She would normally, right.
And I don't know why I did that. When we moved that to number 3, somehow that got mixed up when I was doing the agenda. So, but we can do both 2 and 4 since Nick's not here. Usually we move the presentation the highest thing on the list, but because you didn't know anybody, I thought it would be important at that. And Nick's not here tonight, and Porter's going to fill in to do that. So let's go ahead and just do 2 and 4 and then presentation after that. So go ahead, continue with what you were saying. With the board.
Oh, so we're gonna
Yes,
do
yes. We're going to do both of them though.
Oh, okay, the board chair and the vice chair.
You got it.
Okay, so let's do a chair first, okay?
And I received no inquiries from anybody that had an interest. I did get an inquiry to say, did anybody do this? And that's the only one I got. So.
Okay, so who wants to be?
I've already done it, so.
So there are 5 of us, well, 6 of us, including Andrea, and then how many are missing?
We have Betty, who is off right now. I mean, she's not here. And then we have one appointee that hasn't been made yet.
Okay. So this is everybody but Betty.
Right, correct.
Okay.
And she just joined us, right?
Correct. But she has a background. Yeah. She was going to try to join us, but she said it was spotty. The connection was spotty where she's at. So.
And people can do it in 2 years, yes? Well.
Oh, yeah.
So.
People can do it in 2 years. Yeah. It's up to the board.
John, are you willing to serve another year?
Sure, I'll be glad to. If it's okay with me.
I would like to nominate John Nalbandian.
Jackie Becker, I'd like to second that.
It's been moved and seconded to extend the term of John Nalbandian for a year as board chair. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
It's a train I hear. Wow.
Okay, well said. Well, congratulations, John. Okay, so now, vice chair. Let's see. Andre, you guys, you haven't served yet? You wanna go for it?
Now, are you interested?
And I don't know about that either. We may want to postpone it until next. I mean, we can always table it until next month if you want more people
Betty
here.
might be here.
And I don't know what her interest is as well. But if there is somebody interested, I don't want to derail that either.
I think,
We have a vice chair right now, presently?
No.
No, because it wasn't.
It was Amber.
It was.
Oh, Amber left. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
well, we can postpone it and.
That's up to the board.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out options for you. So
I was, I'm thinking that the skate park is gonna be a big deal, I think, coming up. You wanna
There is a possibility I might be relocating for work. It's not, I didn't want to talk about it because there's nothing concrete yet, but I don't want to commit to something and then be like, hey, I gotta get out of here, because that wouldn't be very productive.
Okay, so we'll push it down the line a little bit.
I would be willing to serve as vice chair.
Okay, all right.
And Jackie Becker, I second that.
Okay, all right.
Or do we need a first vote? Or,
Yeah, I'll
okay,
second it.
okay, then I'm first then.
Okay, Andre, you okay with that too? You haven't spoken up a little bit.
Yeah, I think Marilyn would be a great vice chair.
Okay, then all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No. So congratulations.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the Lawrence Music Alliance, right? So
Yes, and I'm going to, Nick Carswell was going to be here to do this, but he couldn't make it tonight. So I had the chance to see this with Fally Afani with the Art Commission last week. So I thought, well, I can at least step in and really get this out. So it's interesting that there are numerous cities right now really looking into music as part of their ecosystem. And the recognition here with the help of people like Nick Carswell and others is, that we talk a lot about visual arts, but not so much about music from the city's perspective.
And who is Nick Carswell?
Oh, I'm sorry. Nick Carswell is a local resident who also is the engine behind Carswell and Hope, which is a local band. But he's also immersed in cultural things. I've known Nick since I was in Kansas City, so he's really great in this kind of thing. And he also works at Kansas Public Radio and Audio Reader.
Oh, okay.
So he's great. He will be around, and he's also leading the charge in creating the Lawrence Music Alliance, which is really taking the lead in this effort to do a music census. And so with that, we have partnered with Nick along with the state, Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission, and others you'll see here to do this music census with, it's a company called Music Census, and they're working with us to help us do this. And as it says here, to understand and support our music ecosystem. So, and Sound Music Cities is helping us do that. And we do have a webpage, which is there as well too, so you can check it out and get more information. Let me go through this and then, so it's pretty straightforward. The purpose is to gain a better understanding of Lawrence, Kansas's music community. This is the first time we've done any sort of data collection at this level for policy development. The lead partners are Lawrence Music Alliance, Sound Cities, City of Lawrence, Explore Lawrence, and local collaborators. Explore Lawrence is here as well. We plan to launch, so what we're doing now is getting the word out and building the campaign. We plan to launch the survey, census survey on March 1st and go through March 22nd. We have an option then to extend it as well if we don't feel like we got enough responses from that. The type of questions are demographics, occupation types, perspective on diversity, equity, and belonging. There's no questions about personal or business income, so it's really an anonymous option. And we have a privacy assurance, all anonymous responses, no personal identifiers or IP addresses collected in this day and age. That's really important. We're also seeking community engagement partners, so anybody in the music realm that wants to help us with this can certainly jump on board. And the webpage actually has a place where people can submit their interest in that area. Basically, everybody's going to be more than welcome. The responsibilities to that are to help us distribute the survey and promote it on social media, which I'm sure many people will be willing to do. The benefits are inclusive representation in the survey results and a sneak peek of data, and we will also give the logo, their logo onto our webpage. The lead partners currently, as I mentioned, Lawrence Music Alliance, City of Lawrence, Explore Lawrence, Renata, Bottleneck, Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission at this point, and our community partner group, Hart Local Music, KU School of Music, and Silly Goose Records, which includes that one. So the eligibility of this is, can you slide that one?
Yeah.
basically anybody 18 years or older in the Lawrence Douglas County area involved in the music industry. Qualification, all contributors, regardless of compensation or job type. So that's really key, is you don't have to be making money as a musician to contribute to this census. It's really that broad in that sense. And
So all you have to do is call yourself a musician.
basically, if you feel like you're in the music industry in some way, shape, or form as a musician or as somebody helping with tech and that kind of thing, we want to hear from you. And there's an option to provide information on if you have, a lot of people wear multiple hats in the music industry. I bet Jackie can speak to that. So production, production, musician, tech, stage stuff. There's a litany of things that go on with it, sort of live music situation. So that's who we're looking for, is anybody involved in the music industry. And it's not necessarily just local. We also want to hear people from people regionally, because obviously we draw people here who play in Lawrence but may not live here. Go ahead. We have a media, I'm not sure what she was referencing with distribution, but obviously we have a media toolkit, we have the webpage, so anything anybody would need, we'd be happy to get that to you. And as I said, if you want to put your logo on the website, all you have to do is say, we want to be a partner. And then the results will be released in May. So we hope to get the survey completed by end of March. They will review all the data in April, and that's the Sound Music Cities group. And then we'll release the information in May to everybody will have access to that information. So we're really excited about the opportunity for this. And if you have any questions, you can ask me now or email lawrencemusicalliance@gmail.com. So we're really excited about this. I'm glad it's happening now in conjunction with the Parks, Recreation, Arts, and Culture Comprehensive Plan. Like I said, this was presented to the Art Commission. Nick has actually come to the Art Commission prior to bring them up to speed. And now that you all are sort of going to be immersed in arts and culture, we thought it'd be good to bring it here as well. Please, if anybody has thoughts, ideas, we're looking for help. I've got the city helping with social media when we're pushing out the survey. We're just coordinating that effort. So all hands on deck to really try to get this as broadly spread so we can get as much good information as possible. And particularly, talking about equity, reaching into those nooks and crannies in the community that may not be tuned into this as well, and trying to get folks that represent those different communities who have trust in those communities, because there may be, sometimes people are a little skittish when something like this happens. So helping those people understand what we're doing and hoping that they will help convey that to their community. Yeah.
Val Renault, board member. So the goal right now is just a census. Okay, so we don't know what goal comes after that or what.
Right. This is really just a research effort to really kind of get a glimpse of what's really going on in our music community. We know that we're a music town.
We are. Yeah.
But what does that mean? And who's represented in that, who's active in that, all those questions that we really just don't have. I'm sure we can all take guesses at it, but it's good to do something like this to get a really clear picture of what's going on.
Marilyn Hull, board member, what's the incentive for people to be counted?
Mm-hmm. Again, I think it really is so we're looking at what we have, looking at the whole music ecosystem. With Nick working with Lawrence Music Alliance, he's trying to hear from all these different folks who are involved in this area to determine what are some of the needs and that type of thing. So basically, it's just, one would be informational, but it also may be we need a grant program for musicians, or we need some kind of professional development opportunities. Are we, providing all the resources that our local musicians need, that kind of thing. So really getting close to that. Like I said, we have a sense of this with our visual arts students, but we really don't know that this has been affected with the musicians world in our town. So that's the reason behind it.
Jackie Becker, I have a lot of questions. First off, is this just related to live music or all kinds of music, like recorded music or theater music or radio or
all kinds?
All music? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it just this, because you said it can be anyone filling it out. So it's not just the city of Lawrence, is it the county, the state, or why are you asking other people to?
Basically anybody working in Lawrence. I mean, obviously we want to focus on Lawrence and Douglas County, We believe that will be most of the information, but like I said, if somebody's coming from, Topeka or Kansas City or anywhere in the region, we want to hear from them as well.
So when you say working, does that include touring musicians then that come through and perform or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then lastly, how, is it only online or are you going to be, speaking in terms of equity, is it going to be having these questions available in other places where music happens?
That's a good question. At this point, I believe that they plan to do it online only. We actually met today, and one of the discussions we had is they are working to make it bilingual, so they want to have a Spanish version of the survey as well. Whether or not we can do a print version or something and get that to people, I'm sure they probably can, but I don't know for sure, so let me check on that. It's a good question.
Yeah, I think that would be critically important to getting as many, as you say, pockets. Well, I think we're missing people if it's assumed you can have internet and can answer questions like that. So I would definitely push for that if we could have alternatives, like a library or something like that, a common meeting place where people could respond.
Yeah, we've done that before. We'll have paper surveys available to libraries. So let me check on that. That's a good question.
Yeah, but though the online survey makes the data analysis a lot easier, right?
Right.
Check the box.
Well, and so many people have access in different ways, so it's usually a good way to go, but your survey is well taken for those, because we really do want to hear from as many people as possible.
Okay.
Thank you. More to come.
What else is happening on the arts culture scene that's relevant to Parks and Rec?
Amanda Golden has been working with the conference team, so they've been putting together information and ideas about what they're going to propose as part of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
I don't have all the details on that at this point, but that's certainly going to be a big part of what's happening. And we have the public meeting coming up, so we'll learn more about what UTC has discovered on the arts and culture side of things as well.
Okay. Cool. Great. Okay, let's see, I guess we're now at the 2024 capital improvements project.
Roger, you mind putting that up, the Excel file first?
Excel, okay. Oh, whoops, sorry, Chair, I forgot.
These projects have been funded. I mean, this is going to happen. This is.
Yeah, I'll show you some of the. So Mark Ecker, Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation. I think previous meetings we had talked about, you wanted to kind of see what was going on with CFP. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of where we're at today and where we're headed. This is our project list. So bigger projects that hit CIP are $100,000 and more. So I wanted to give you a little view of 2023 because some of these aren't done yet. So the skate park improvement project is complete. We hope to have a ribbon cutting here in the next week or two. That's turned out really well. We did a walkthrough kind of in the middle of the snow season there where they got it constructed, then it snowed 8 inches so nobody could use it. So then as soon as it melted, we did a final walkthrough. It's pretty much open now. People are using it. So heard really good comments on it. So I'm pretty excited to get the city commissioners out and do a little ribbon cutting ceremony coming up. Other ones that aren't nearly as glamorous is the sewage lagoon at the Eagle Bend Golf Course. Nobody really cares about that one, but it's almost the same money. So that one will finish probably the next 2 to 3 weeks. Eagle Bend Golf Course, we're replacing the whole pump system on the irrigation, which is a kind of a big deal project because we had to shut it down in the fall and we have to get it back up by March 1. But that's a complete replacement of the whole pumping system that runs all the irrigation on the golf course. So that one's pretty close. We're within 2 weeks of finishing that one. We just had a final construction meeting today. Lawrence Loop, this is one I'm going to talk about a little bit. This one is a preliminary design of the space on the Lawrence Loop from 7th Street to Constant Park. So the Colorado River Commons group started that design back in 2020-ish. It's been studied since 2019. There was an alignment study done with that. So, and I'll get into more detail, but basically where we're headed is we're headed to the City Commission tomorrow to request their approval to submit a grant for a $21 million grant project that would close that loop section from 7th Street to Constant. A lot of study has been done with it, a lot of discussion about what's the right route, what's the wrong route. The main thing is taking an opportunity to apply for a very large grant of federal dollars that wouldn't cost the city money. So that's the opportunity that we'll be talking about at the commission meeting tomorrow. So those are 23 projects. As we move to 24, and I will show you a picture of this one, but our biggest project is out at the youth sports complex. We're installing some artificial turf on some of the soccer football fields. This says 4, we actually ended up down at 3. So it's going to determine how we come in on bids. We may do 2 or we may do 3. So we have $3.6 million. This is something we've been working with the user groups. So we have 3 different soccer groups and a football group. We've been kind of walking through the process as we went through. So we're pretty excited about that. This will be the first venture into artificial turf. And also we'll have lights on these fields. That's going to be big for the local groups, but also allows us to do more with tournaments and league play that gets into the, the evening hours of the week, during the week. This one is a bigger project that you'll see over 3 or 4 years. So this is a renovation of the outdoor aquatic center. So coming up in a couple of years, we'll be 30 years old down there. There's a lot of things structurally that the pool bed's moving, the pump systems are getting old, so a lot of things are tired. It's a $6.5 million project total. What we're starting with this year is just getting public engagement started. So it's going to be a pretty interesting public engagement because everybody has very specific needs for their pool. So it matters if you have kids or if you're a lap swimmer or you do fitness. So it'll be an engaging process. So we've hired an architectural firm that has aquatic specialists, and they also have a public engagement specialist. Haven't met with them yet. We're just doing the contract right now. So that's that $250,000. Lions Park, we're doing a shelter over there. So it basically, if you remember, we did the splash pad and the playground is about half done. So this will complete the 3 steps of that little park renovation. That one probably go back right about in the same spot as the old one, just modernize it. If you haven't been over there and really looked at it, that one has holes in the roof and it's not in great shape. So then trails, we continue to look at, the city commission a couple of years ago said, hey, we want to finish the Lawrence Loop. So these are segments of the loop. This one is actually clear over on South Iowa, where when KDOT comes through to finish that other leg of the KDOT or the K10, this will be a trail that will go up and over the Highway 59. So it's being designed with the highway expansion. So I don't know if we'll spend it this year or not, but the money's allocated for it. So that's kind of fun. This one is a continuation of the other one. So this allocates a little bit of money just for, we had it up here. This one allocates a little bit of money. But like I said, we're shooting for $21 million on a bigger project. So that money may or may not get spent. This one is a lingering one that, if you remember, we went from Peterson Road over by the Hallmark plant and got over to Michigan. So that we stopped at Michigan, we need to get over to Sanders Shaw Park. So these are closing other parts of the loop. This money is allocated. We're currently in property acquisition, trying to get a route through there. So some other things have gotten in the way, or, the pallet village out there got placed right next to it. So that kind of changed the route a little bit. Hopefully the property acquisition will happen in the next, I'm going to say, month or 2, and then we can move on to construction with that. What I wanted to show you a little bit, because we're working on the CIP from 25 through 29 right now. So when we look at, how did we fare the last time we went through this? These are unfunded projects, so they're sitting in there as proposed CIPs, but they weren't funded. So you'll see on these lists that there's a whole bunch of things that we felt are important, but there's only so much money. So, we got a pretty big chunk here. So that I'm really happy with. This one was a public engagement one where the pickleball group actually submitted their own project. So that wasn't one we submitted, we supported them, kind of walked them through the process. But, starting to get further into turf, arts and culture, this is one Porter and I worked on that, if we're going to have an arts and culture program, we might want to think about creating some budget to do some things. So that one was one we first threw in last year and wasn't funded, but I think there's potential going forward. What's happening on all of these? So there's an unfunded list on all of these years. So the goal is to start shifting those down to the 2028, 2029 and not let them just fall off. So we just keep moving them down. But you look here in 25, you start picking up more of the outdoor aquatic centers. So it's another 250,000 for design. And then we put $1 million into construction. So that starts the construction. Then we finish the construction down here in 26. So that's how that one's working a little bit. Water Tower Park, this is one we promised the neighborhood when the water tower got relocated up there. That relocation of the water tower is supposed to happen by October of this year, so we went ahead and put money in to revamp the park after all the construction's done. So that'll be a real good public engagement. We've engaged in quite a bit, but then we said, we're a year and a half off, so we kind of put a pause on it, but we'll bring it back as we get closer to 25. Youth Sports Complex, continuing to improve that complex, just starting to get it, put some asphalt in where we have gravel. This one has been lingering for quite a while, so we have an ADA concern at the community building where our ADA access is actually at the back of the building. Our securing is up at the front of the building, so it's a little bit of an unsecured entrance, but it's our only way accessible for ADA. So what we'd like to do is either move the security entrance to the elevator or move the elevator up to the front of the building. So we'll see how that goes. That price tag has gone up multiple times each time we delay it. So, but something needs to be done. This is the last section of the Lawrence Loop is not northwest. So we wanted to get everything in the CIP. So this is northwest. This is going from Queens Road over to Castle, which we actually have a route. Some of it details going through some farmland, so there'd be property acquisitions. It's the only one that's not inside the city limits, so it's fringing out into the county a little bit. Yeah. So that's why we pushed it down the list a little further. If we can solve the downtown one, that's the most difficult one. The one Sanders Shaw over to Peterson, second most difficult. The one that way out west, let's just pick a route and go. So that one's going to be fairly easy. If you look at unfunded here, you start seeing things like the wading pool, switching it to a splash pad. Eagle Bend Golf Course, the driving range has a pretty good drainage issue where, if we get a lot of rain, it becomes a swamp out there. Some of these things we're trying to add. So the sports pavilion, we're 10 years old out there, so some of the fitness equipment really needs to get replaced. It's October this year, it's 10 years old, so we're talking about having some type of ceremony or something. It's pretty amazing. I'm a little shocked. It's like, wow, that 10 years went really quickly. These are not glamorous things, but the tractors that we mow the levee with is about $165,000 per shot. So it becomes a CIP item. Outdoor Aquatic Center finishing there. Community building finishing up that renovation. So that's kind of over 2 years. This one, the cemetery maintenance shop's one that we've talked about for years. We just kind of keep pushing it back and back and back. Those buildings just keep getting older and older. So at some point you have to just, basically bite the bullet and go do the project. So these are more downtown centered, and you can see we're projecting to fund those with guest tax. So right now this is in the CIP. So we finish up the Queens Road Trail there. But what happens in 28, currently there's not a single project funded in 28 in the CIP, so that's not a good thing. So what we want to do is start trying to rescue some of these. And what a lot of them were is, as we scored them, they didn't score high enough to get into the funding, so it didn't score high enough to get into the money. So we need to go in and look at the whole project write-up. Each one of these has a 3 or 4 page project write-up that is scored against the city's strategic plan. So if we can change the scoring or there's something that's written there that wasn't giving us the appropriate score, we can move it up. Some of them may just fall off just because they aren't meeting the strategic plan. So that's a little concerning sometimes. But you can see here, these are more, get some of the facilities added on to expansion of the rec centers, expansion of the nature center, indoor aquatic center. We've talked about, we aren't great for accommodating swim meets because we don't have enough spectator space. So then blank slate in 29. So the finance department, if we play the game exactly the way they wanted, any new project would go in 28, 29, not 25, 26, or 27, because those are already in a funding program. So that was a whole lot of information.
When does the new plan, the comprehensive plan, when does it kick in?
We're working on it now, so we're hoping to merge these. So right now, the consultants doing the comprehensive plan have the CIP as written, so the 24 through 28 one. So they should be merging anything that was funded into our comprehensive plan. The things they don't have are the unfunded things. So, like, I know the South Park wading pool is not going to go much longer. We're going to have to do something significant with it because we're having pipes break underneath and everything else. So our plan is to switch that to a splash pad. You take away the staffing issue, it's able to open longer hours, that sort of thing. So that's what we need to keep on the consultant with is, okay, you have what was funded, but there's others that probably need to be on your.
So part of their planning and calculations will incorporate some of what's up here already.
Yeah, so part of the comprehensive plan is to actually come up with a little bit of a CIP. Here's some projects that really should happen in the next 5 to 10 years. So obviously we're working in a 5-year window. So sometimes those little more extravagant things, like we have an indoor turf facility on here for $7 million, that may get put out past the current CIP. So it's maybe year 6, 7, 8, but still a need. So if the public interaction says, yes, we do need that, then they'll put it into a CIP plan that shoots out into the future a little further. Or they may say, hey, this is the most important thing, and you need to reorder everything.
Mrs. Marilyn Hull, is there any chance that the comprehensive plan is going to identify something that you don't already have on the list?
Absolutely. And that's what's actually good about the public engagement process we're doing with that we may think we should be going here, and the public's going, but you missed this completely. So pickleball, 5 years ago when we did the other plan, wasn't even anywhere on the radar. So now we know something has to happen with pickleball because we don't have adequate facilities. So I think through this process, it'll identify pickleball as a need, both indoor and outdoor. And something else, trails will always finish number one. It seems like every survey we do is the highest need, highest demand, which is great. And, this plan currently shows that there's so much demand for trails, and that's where a lot of the money's going to. So is there high demand for sports facilities? We aren't hearing it as much. We used to earlier, 15 years ago or so, we were hearing we don't have enough gyms, we don't have enough anything. So sports pavilion got built, we've kind of fixed that. Outdoor turf, artificial turf is a kind of a big deal right now. A lot of these teams are traveling around to other complexes and we aren't up to the speed. So yeah, I'll be interested as we go through the public process what comes up that we don't know about. Hopefully we're not surprised, but we can be.
Okay.
I actually have one last question. So I saw the unfunded 2% for arts projects. Is that something that we are going to try to keep putting in every year? And
yeah,
since it's all been combined,
Yeah.
I feel like that should have always be in there right now.
Interesting. So in 1986, a resolution was passed that allocated up to 2%, but there's one word in there that's tricky, which is the city commission may set aside up to this amount. As part of that, there is a mechanism in there to figure this out. You have to go back to the previous year's CIP, look for eligible projects, and of those eligible projects, what's the number? So that's what I did to get that number. But as Mark pointed out, it didn't pass muster for this round. So that's something that Amanda and her group are looking at, because that resolution has actually been reaffirmed, I think, 4 times since 1986. So, there's interest in public art, but we're just not doing it proactively. So she's looking at maybe strengthening the policy or something along those lines to make that occur.
Other questions? Let me show you a pretty picture. Roger, where's
the first one
over here?
Yeah,
You're talking about Andrea's picture?
you need to share.
You gotta go back to the
share.
order again.
Okay. Close that.
Oh, no, you just closed it.
Here,
Yeah.
Here, just do it.
Okay.
Or did I close it completely?
You closed it completely.
Yeah, I see it. It was really cool for a second.
Thank you.
Of course.
All the stuff that's
I think it's gone.
You can save it over here. Where did it go?
Sorry.
Oh, no, it's over here. Okay, and then we go back here. Share. You do this pretty picture. And I'll check that.
Hilda, Roger. Okay, so that's the master plan of YSC and the fields we're talking about building out there. So that's conceivably the the $3.6 million. Pointer second, Roger.
Don't close it.
Yeah, don't close it. So our initial project is fields 1 and fields 2. So these are full-size soccer fields with 4 cross fields. What our goal is to make sure these are done right. So we're going to level them, light them, put new parking in, new sidewalks, new landscape. If we have money, we want to go to this third field. So I think we might get the turf in, but I'm not sure we'll get the lights in for the 3.6 million. But as we worked with the user groups, they're like, well, let's start the whole complex. And well, I'd like to do that too, but that's a little more money than we have. You'll also notice this back exit here is kind of a big component of this. So we know when we run baseball, softball tournaments and soccer at the same time, we don't have enough capacity to get people in and out of there. So this is a temporary road. As KDOT builds K10, they're going to put a new drainage way right through here that'll connect into the emergency exit on the spillway. So as soon as this gets built, which will be late 24, early 25, we're going to change this road to go right here.
Is this west of the?
West of the complex.
Yeah, where are the kickball fields in the
What's the relation to
softball?
K10 and where they're?
Yeah, I wish I would have pulled up that big picture. So you're clear at the west end of the complex. So
that's nothing right now. It's just field.
These are 6 fields right now. So these are 6 soccer fields. These are football fields, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And the mutt runs to the.
Way over here.
And so then 6 to 8.
7 o'clock.
6 to 8 would be in the west, then past the road there in the green area. Is that your YSC field, 6 to 8 there?
These are currently all YSC fields. So we're bulldozing 6 fields here and coming back with turf.
Is this where the little kids play?
They're way over here.
Okay. Gotcha.
So where's YSC 1 through 4 complex?
Okay, this is the parking lot for it. So those ball diamonds are over here.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have given you a bigger view.
Okay.
27th Street's right here.
Got it. Okay, so then 6 to 8 is the south area over here. Okay, I got it now.
Then there's baseball. So these are the football fields, and there's 4 other diamonds down here.
And the city commission next running an extra exit through the mutt run, right?
Yes, yes. So that'll show up a little more problematic as the K10 construction starts, because the first phase of that will be to reconstruct that intersection that goes across. So if you recall, or you may not know, K10 is going up and Walker's is going under. So as that happens, the routing to these complexes will be really interesting. You'll be going all over the city to get around to the complexes. So I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a big, big upgrade to youth sports. And even having the lights, so, a night like this, we can have kids out playing, where before, 5:30, we got to cut it off. So the user groups are pretty excited about it too.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike. Okay, let's, concern, board members, item of interest. So, let's see, Val, you wanted to say something about.
Oh, yeah, I just agreed that it would be nice to have reports on what the public said when they came to those meetings, which is what they were asking for in the email. I'm not sure if those reports would change or influence anything. I mean, I guess what they want to know is how seriously their opinions are being taken.
Well, I was thinking about that, and I think that they are utilizing more data than we realize. So the model cities that with Corvallis and whatever, and then all the other stuff that they're considering in all the public meetings. If we expected them to report on every single engagement with data that they had, that would really they'd be spending a lot of time sharing rather than integrating. Because I think that, to me, that the key is their ability to integrate what's being said rather than, this and this and this. No, the totality of it, I think.
And how will those citizens know that their input was considered?
I think, personally, I think that's where the public comment after we have something to look at.
Did they say when they were going to give us the results?
Yeah.
I mean, I was going to give an update, but
Let's do it now.
let's do it now.
Yeah.
No, I mean, all good questions. And I mean, even personally, this is my first time going through a master plan, a comprehensive plan. So I'm thinking the same thing and learning a lot as we go along the way. And I know Mark and Porter have been, and Roger, I'm looking at you, what I'm going to say. I've been through this before, but yeah, I think, John, your point is valid in that they are gathering data and information from so many different places, and they are working on getting it all compiled. And so they had a first open house back in October, and then they had the statistically valid survey went out, and then they had an online version of it that we asked actually to leave it open until the end of January. So they are just now compiling those results. So coming up as far as the timeline, they have the steering committee is February 20th. So they're going to be meeting with the steering committee next week, and they will kind of have their first draft recommendation to review with the steering committee, which is our main group and they haven't met, in a few months. And so this will be the first kind of blush with some of the data. And then the next open house is 2 days later on February 22nd. And so they will have information to share at that next open house. Meanwhile, we have the results back of the ETC survey, so the statistically valid survey, and we have asked them to give a presentation to the city commission on March 19th. So that data is going to be presented. It's just going to be presented from ETC. It's not going to, our consultants don't plan to give an update because they're so close to the end. They're working with that information, but they're working on their recommendation, which will come later. So this is just a chance. We wanted to share the results of the data. It'll just be the numbers, the raw data, no interpretation, just here you go. Here's how people answered. Here's what they have. So that is coming on March 19th. And so again, all these different pieces that they're gathering along the way are helping them inform their recommendation. And so as far as timelines, the first, I think, review that they would present to staff, and then I assume at some point the advisory board would be in late March. And then I think their original timeline was to have their final plan ready by mid-April. I don't know I feel like we might be a little behind on that. Another piece to that is getting our new director hired. And I know there's been conversation about waiting to get the new director on board before the final, plan is presented. So we might have to push that off a little bit, but I think we're still tracking pretty close to where we should be.
No, I'll just add that I've been through a couple of these, but basically it's collecting information and then they come back with recommendations. So it'll come back to the steering committee of here's what we heard, both in public meeting, survey, trends analysis, all these pieces they're trying to put together. So, and that's where the steering committee gets to engage a little bit and go, wow, that's perfect, or wow, you're way off. So that allows that to be informed. Then it goes back to public again so that they can see kind of what's being recommended, and if people raise your hand and go, hey, you forgot about this, or hey, that's great, that's perfect. Every public meeting always has a little bias, usually depends on who showed up to the meeting as to how many stickers got stuck on which ones. So they use that, but they don't say that's their only piece of information, which is good because, if the golf people didn't show up that night, then it looks like nobody cares about golf. Well, we know that's not true. So I think the process will pan out really well as we go forward.
And I would recommend attending the next open house and talking with the consultants, because I think they're happy to share that information and the individual data. And I know the public comment we received was specifically about that first open house, and we want to see the dots and all that. So again, I think it's not necessarily part of the plan to actually share every time they get that information, but if you want to come to the next open house, I think they'd be happy to talk about, what they're seeing and what came out of that. So I definitely think it's fine to ask.
And just a reminder that Porter's deeply involved with the steering committee, right?
Well, just helping to facilitate it. So
That's what I meant. And then I'm on the.
You're on the committee. Okay, I thought.
Committee. Yeah.
It almost sounded like they just wanted some acknowledgement, like, I don't know if they want a picture on the Facebook page or.
Well, I will say too, that a lot of times the data that's gathered is in the report in the back in the appendices and things, so it is referenced. Now, with a public meeting, it's a little bit tricky. I mean, in terms of some of those boards and stuff, I don't know how they're going to line that stuff up. But to what, Mark said, a lot of times those public meetings become, a group of contingent of people are there and really pushing a cause more than anything else. So
it's the eating of the elephant analogy, where the person for the trunk thinks it's a snake, blindfolded, that kind of thing. So if you look at any one piece of this, it could be misleading in the sense that may not be what they're really hearing. I know Amanda interviewed 30 different stakeholders, so what they got on their boards versus what she's hearing directly. And then they also visited and they were at the open house. So I think John articulated it. This is gathering a lot of information. So to think any one piece of it is singularly going to be informative is not a great perspective.
In some way, the next time they respond is when they see the recommendations.
right.
And
On the 22nd. And for that, I believe Porter, we're going to also sign up on for Zoom. And so we'll have a recorded that we can put out for the public's consumption as well. So,
they'll start the meeting with a presentation, and for that, we've made it available on Zoom. We have somebody with a visual impairment, so I'll make sure that they can access the meeting. So it'll be imperfect, but we'll do our best.
We'll do our best. But again, it's about that transparency. We do try to provide that. Mm-hmm. We probably, looking at it in hindsight, we probably should have looked at some kind of element from the first meeting, but at that point we were really trying to get the ball moving down the road there. So,
okay, how about we move on?
We're still doing the comments from the board, right?
Correct.
Okay. So should I do an update then on the grant and the final meeting that we had in regards to the bike lane and stuff, and kind of explain what went down before the city commission meeting? Yeah. Okay, so that should be me or you, I wasn't sure. So last Monday, we had our final meeting to vote on pushing forward the grant to work on basically the river and the design that's been being created with the big grant we're hoping to get from the government. The one big change that we learned in the process was that the bike trail going along the river line towards Bowersock Dam cannot happen because there's some wires. And for Bowersock Dam to be able to, they have to have this machine that moves basically to repair.
You might say what committee you're talking with there.
What was that called? I don't even know.
Yeah, the steering committee.
I was on the steering committee for the
downtown Lawrence Loop.
whatever they were.
Right. I'm the board.
Several months ago, we asked for somebody to serve.
And so, that had to, basically was determined it was not allowed. And so they've now had to go back and kind of change some of that so the loop will not go underneath, and they've got a little more work to do on that. And then there's only they were trying to decide upstream or downstream for the connecting bridge, and there was some people opposing opinions on it. But it did pass, I believe, 8-2. The bridge will be upstream because that connects closer to how to get to the pool, the library, and the downtown, because this grant is for basically, making sure it ties into equity and finance, the financial, how we can get to the heart of the city and things like that. And so it did pass. It did not pass unanimously. So now I know it's the city commission, and then it'll get submitted. So
sorry, that's the pedestrian bridge you're talking about?
Yeah, the pedestrian and bicycle bridge.
Bicycles, yeah.
Because currently,
it's on the west side.
Yeah, it'll be on the west side, so upstream. Yes. Yeah. So, because and a lot of people ask about that. Why can't we just use what we already have?
Right.
But they're not ADA compliant, right. And so this new one that's being built will be accessible for all. So.
So some of these ideas are kind of getting creamed on social media. I don't know if you've been following that, but what I've heard is the people of North Lawrence saying they'd like to have a downstream pedestrian bridge. And I'm wondering, does Bowersock control like half a mile or what?
No.
Because of course, the Camden of Beginnings is there right now, but there's a lot of negative comment about bringing it into a place where nobody lives permanently, a part of North Lawrence. Whereas the people who live in North Lawrence would appreciate having a pedestrian bridge downstream. So
more into the neighborhoods than into.
Yeah, so I'm just sort of confused on how that happened.
So, and I was not, I was not at the December meeting because I was driving in a snowstorm back home. So I missed the mid-meeting, but what was determined there that it was voted on, that it would be leaning towards the upstream, not the downstream. And I believe that the majority of the members, including the North Lawrence rep, voted for the upstream one also. The issue with the downstream one that why I, as an individual, I understood why it wouldn't be possible is because when that bridge would happen, you hit the levee. And well, what is the levee? It is gravel. That's not ADA compliant in any way, shape, or form. And so they would have to be able to bring concrete from the bridge or wherever you're coming off all the way up. And if you know where they want it to happen from New York to the park in North Lawrence, that's like a quarter of a mile. And so the reason I was like, though that doesn't seem plausible is because it's not ADA compliant. And the whole point of this is to allow for accessibility for all for our community. And so the upstream one, the one on the west side, has that ability to do that there's only a small amount of concrete that would have to be basically poured versus a quarter of a mile on the levee. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where, again, it's a grant, timing is everything, this is where you go with it.
Are you going to add anything?
Sure. So it's been a process, and obviously this is the most difficult section of the Lawrence Loop by far. We've been studying it since 2017. Multiple versions have been floated. The thing that went to public was, and I think maybe you attended, so it had 4 different bridge options. Boom, 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 boom. Through public process, it got narrowed down, and then the steering committee was asked, which one do you want? So that was the first steering committee meeting. So after their discussions, they eliminated the one downstream because they felt it basically dead ended into the back of the old mall building, and then didn't really achieve anything on the other side of the river. So they went with the one upstream, which connected to downtown and also potential future development of Lawrence. So they went there, they eliminated the one that was, basically going over the dam and the connectivity over the dam. So when the Bowersock scenario came up where basically found that we weren't able to cross over the dam, that changed quite a bit of the planning. So the upstream one's still very viable. The 7th Street, I call it the upper one, so we're going down 7th Street, going through downtown, coming behind City Hall, connecting, flying over, and getting down to the trail is still viable. So there's 2 options that are really viable. Is there a perfect one? Absolutely not. So I don't love the 7th Street one. It's not perfect because we're crossing a lot of driveways and roads, but it still is functional. It's really tight getting around City Hall and under those 2 bridges and then creating some type of flyover that gets us over the railroad. That's difficult. We've literally studied this since 2017, and honestly, it was 10 years before that. So I think what we need to talk about, and we'll see what the city commission wants to do with it, is this a plan that we can submit grant funding for, knowing that we still have to do construction documents, knowing that we still have to look at it in closer detail. If $21 million is available, is this close to viable? The people that are complaining is, I want this one instead of that one. Well, basically we're saying there's a $10 million bridge, and so far, this is where we think it should go. The helix thing, that needs to be looked at engineering-wise. Is that structurally buildable? The flyover that goes over the railroad, is that structurally buildable? We have to get permission from the railroad. Much, much work still to do. We're at a point where we have a couple of weeks to submit a grant. After that, we don't know if that grant funding is going to be available for future years. There's some people saying, well, hey, wait, you need to look at it longer. And so, we've looked at it for over 5 years. So it's not changing. It's just a matter of we need to pick a route. So I feel pretty comfortable going forward to the city commission, and it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And, if they're not comfortable enough to go with it, great, then we'll just stop and try to get a grant opportunity later. So we'll see how that goes.
Is there any way to connect the 2% for art with these proposals? I mean, this is going to be such a, unique for us, right? I mean, it's one of a kind. And if we could really, make it so that it's really an attraction as well as functional, it becomes an attraction.
Yeah, and the project funding proposal, we're incorporating arts and culture into the design. So nothing's been structurally designed yet, but we know a bridge across the river isn't really $10 million. It can be, we can build it cheaper, but we're adding money in there to make it a little more of an attraction. You might want to have, you might have, we don't know what the rails look like. We don't know a lot of that stuff. So in the project proposal, all of those things are considered to take it kind of next level. So it's not just,
I mean, you see what other cities have done and it just blows you away.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like, whoa.
Council Bluffs to Omaha's a gorgeous pedestrian bridge that is as soon as they opened it, Council Bluffs needed it because they were sort of the dying city, and and they pumped a lot of public art money into Council Bluffs. So you're spot on. Mm-hmm.
But we need to explore Lawrence to get involved.
I just wonder if the bikers are, no.
Cyclists.
Yeah, bikers are. Is that double helix doable on a bike? Okay.
They have
low enough.
They have they have to be really big.
Really big.
They can accommodate the width and everything, and also the ADA angle.
Right.
So all that has to be considered. And to Mark's point, that's an engineering project too.
There's going to be room for skaters.
Usher come out rock straight.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, he almost took a spin. It was funny.
But he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Okay, guys, let's move on.
I got one more.
Okay, go on.
The Broken Arrow Park enclosed shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Is it finished?
It's pretty close. We're still working on the interior kitchen, and then we just set the bathroom in, restroom in 2 weeks ago. So we still need to finish around that.
And is it going to be heated and air conditioned?
That's the eventual. So that was something that was a budget cut. The original plan called for heat and air conditioning, but that was another $150,000 we didn't have. So we went ahead and did the structure. We're building a kitchen inside. We ran sewer and water over to it. So that's a huge improvement. The restroom will be heated. So we have capacity to go year round. Right. I'm hoping this year we can put heat and air conditioning in. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah, we did step by step, and that got cut on our budget. So it's really cool if you haven't been in it or if you haven't seen it. It gives it a whole different mindset. And then, we moved the playground, moved it further away from the shelter. So we hope to do some exterior landscaping too, to maybe extend the east patio out further, put some tables out there, new grills. So
I think there's going to be a lot of demand.
oh, it's going to be huge, especially if we can get it to where we can heat it.
Yeah.
Because, that early spring season, if you're in March, it's not really doable, or even in October.
Right.
It's still really nice outside, but you don't want to bet on the weather, so.
Thank you.
The skate park ribbon cutting, do you have a hard date on that yet?
Not. We're trying to play with the weather a little bit.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Lawrence Skate Association and the Skate Shop River want to do an event in combination with the City of Lawrence. So
who's the one that I need to talk with? Who do I need to talk with?
You can talk to me.
Okay.
I'll communicate with everybody.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
What time of day do you think would be best for that?
I mean, probably early afternoon. like 2 p.m. probably, something like that.
Okay, I didn't know if we'd have kids there or not, or do we need to worry about school schedules or?
Oh, maybe. It depends if you wanted to do it on the weekend or weekday.
Oh, good point. Okay.
Could have someone demo the vert ramp.
Yeah. So we did weekday, maybe 4:30 or 5 or something.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
It would still give us enough sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Arts and culture update,
I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover tonight.
okay. Roger, do you have anything more?
Well, the summer camp registration just started today. I know that she'll probably mention that, but the collateral and everything's up online. People can view that, see what's available. And then we're planning lots of events, a lot of outside people and doing events in parks that we're already lining up stuff. Juneteenth is one of them that's already kind of getting their stuff together. A lot of fun runs, some parades. And so we've got I just see this thing expanding and growing. And we're down a person right now, and then part-time help. We're having 2 part-timers joining us next week to replace the 2 that we've lost for a while. So anyway, lots of things going on.
Yeah, I was at the sports complex this weekend. I couldn't find a parking space.
Oh, it's typical.
That was unbelievable. You know, I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Get a workout when you're running to the building.
John, I know you like to move through these meetings quickly, but I just went through a round of enrolling for some classes, and some people come down to the community building at 8 o'clock, because you have to get right in so do we have capacity for more? Is that just a good problem that we have, that our classes fill up so quickly that?
Yeah, it comes down to, I think, space and instructors and that sort of thing. So our staff is always kind of running into a fighting over this room and that room, and it's always like a puzzle piece. It is a great problem to have, but I mean, we're continuing to look at ways that we can expand, but sometimes it's the availability of the instructor as well. So if it's a specific class type where we have just, that one instructor, they may only be available certain times or days. But, I think just continue to talk to the supervisors. If there are classes that continue to fill up, please let them know that, you're waiting and they're interested. Yeah. But or feel free to pass that on to me, and we can always take a look and see, if there's something that we can expand. But yeah, it's obviously
at the children's level as well as a senior level.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it was.
So we need another sports facility.
Yeah, we need another facility and more staff.
Yeah.
Okay, Lindsay, you want
I think Mark's next on the.
Mark?
You want to do?
Just a quick highlight, downtown lights, so we keep them up through Valentine's Day, so it's Wednesday. They worked out really nicely for the Chiefs the other day.
Oh, yeah, that was
the downtown. Yeah, because of the lights, of course. So the lights will stay on until Thursday, and then we'll start taking the downtown down. We've taken a lot of the perimeters down. We may leave the red ones up and take the white ones down just in case KU gets into a Final Four run. Last Illinois, if you remember, we did red and blue down there for a couple times. And we still have the green ones in the mid-block, so we can do St. Patrick's Day.
Somebody told me it was the 49ers. I mean,
really? Is that what you saw?
That's what it looks like.
Blasted that. Yeah. Anyway, so that'll be happening here the next week, but that's all I need to highlight.
Yeah, I went down there last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
It sounded like there was quite a crowd. It was like the Final Four.
It's silly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a miniature, like practice for the.
Yeah.
A lot of people down there. That was fun.
It's funny. Okay, now I can go. Just again, we've already discussed the comprehensive plan update, but just a reminder again that the next open house is February 22nd at 5:30 p.m. at Holcomb Recreation Center. So definitely want to encourage everyone to attend that. And then again, tune into the City Commission meeting on March 19th if you want to see the ETC survey results. In addition to everything else we've already discussed, just a quick update on the director recruitment. I don't have too much to update on that, but they are in the middle of interviews right now. So it's been passed on from the recruiter, has passed on their top candidates, and now the city is scheduling interviews. I think they're going to take place at the end of February. So things are moving along. I know last month they reported that I spoke with our HR director, and she had confirmed that the advisory board, 1 or 2 members will be included as part of the process. I just don't know what that is yet. So we're kind of waiting. I think once they get the next round of interviews set, and as we get a little bit closer, we'll find out how that's going to look and what the panel and interview, schedule will look like. And that is all that I have.
Okay, let's see. Any final thoughts, final issues, anything? Okay, then I think we can wrap it up, huh? It's a motion to adjourn?
Sam Tomlinson to adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Second, Marilyn Hull.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Good, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome.
Well, I was going to say.
Thanks, Andrea. Bye, Andrea.
Matt, yeah,